Ever feel like your brain is running 5 tabs at once and none of them will stay open long enough to finish? Like you're tuned into every signal and no one else seems to notice the noise. Maybe it's ADHD, maybe it's autism, maybe it's both. The overlap is more common than people think and more misunderstood. Most people only see the stereotypes. They don't see your senses pick up everything: the flicker of a light, the shift in someone's tone, the texture that ruins your whole day. They also miss the beauty your mind finds in tiny details, or how you connect things others don't even notice. The pattern finding, the deep empathy, the creativity that blooms under pressure. We're diving into the real overlaps, the signs people miss, and we're not here to diagnose or label you. We're here to offer insight, connection, and support so you can better understand yourself and, if needed, take steps towards getting help. By the end of this video, you might finally have the words for what you've been feeling all along. So let's get into it. ADHD, autism, or both. ADHD is often associated with being loud, hyper, or impulsive, blurting things out, interrupting, bouncing in your seat, or getting easily distracted. And for some, that's exactly how it shows up. But ADHD doesn't always look the way people expect, especially in women and AFAB individuals. That means people who were assigned female at birth. They're often misdiagnosed or overlooked because their traits don't match the loud or hyper stereotype. The truth is, sometimes ADHD shows up in quieter, more internal ways that are easier to miss. It might look like zoning out, emotional sensitivity, restlessness that doesn't show on the outside, or struggling to focus unless something is deeply interesting. ADHD also brings incredible strengths like creativity, out-of-the-box thinking, humor, and a natural ability to make connections that others might miss. Autism, on the other hand, is often associated with things like avoiding eye contact, repetitive movements called stimming, or speaking in a flat tone. And again, for some people, that's exactly how it shows up. But autism doesn't always fit the mold either, especially in people who've learned to mask their traits. Sometimes it might look like anxiety in social situations, deep discomfort with sudden change, or extreme sensitivity to lights, sounds, or textures. Some autistics may feel overwhelmed in noisy environments, struggle to follow unspoken social rules, or fixate on certain interests that bring them comfort and clarity. Autism is less about behavior and more about how you process the world, information, sensation, and connection. And with that processing often comes brilliance. Autistic minds are frequently deeply focused, incredibly observant, and passionate. They too may notice details others miss, spot patterns quickly, and think deeply about things most people overlook. Where they overlap. So here's where it gets tricky. ADHD and autism often overlap. They can both involve sensory sensitivities, difficulty managing time or focus, social struggles, though for different reasons, hyperfocus. Yes, even ADHD folks can get deeply locked in. Moments of mental freezing or information overload. Co-occurring conditions such as anxiety, depression, and sleep disorders. But this overlap doesn't just show up in struggles. People with ADHD, autistics, and ADHDers often share powerful strengths like creativity, deep empathy, passionate interests, and an ability to think in ways that break the mold. Catching those connections others miss, finding beauty in small details, and staying with a problem long after others have given up. These differences can be a gift, but they don't always make things easy. Even with all of that insight and resilience, everyday situations can still feel overwhelming. The world wasn't designed with neurodivergent processing in mind, and when your brain works differently, even simple tasks can become minefields of confusion or overstimulation. Let's take a look at what that can feel like in real life. So let's say two people are in the same room. One keeps interrupting, not to be rude, but because if they don't speak, they'll forget. The other doesn't speak at all, because they're unsure when it's their turn or how to start. Externally, two different behaviors. Internally, both are trying their best to process an overwhelming moment. Overload and freeze response is also a very common overlap for individuals with ADHD, autistics, and ADHDers. It can look like someone standing still while the world rushes past them. Too many sounds, too many decisions, too much light, too much everything. They want to respond, but the words don't come. Their body says freeze before their mind has time to catch up. Sometimes it looks like chaos, like someone surrounded by plans and possibilities, each one screaming for attention. They want to start, but they can't. Everything feels urgent, everything feels impossible, and sometimes it feels like both. A brain caught in loops, a body ready to move and unable to follow through. Sensory and/or information overload might be a bit like this for some. Can you relate? It can leave you longing for peace, too overstimulated to find it. Everything inside you says, go, but nothing happens. You're just stuck. Not because you're lazy, but because your system is kind of short-circuiting under pressure. ADHD often feels like being pulled outward toward movement, stimulation, ideas, and urgency. The mind races ahead, chasing what's next before the present is finished. It's not about craving chaos, it's about craving clarity and novelty in a brain that struggles to slow down. Autism, on the other hand, often feels like being pulled inward toward consistency, depth, and protection from too much input. The mind wants to make sense of things before acting. It's not about avoiding the world, it's about creating enough order to safely engage with it. Both are deeply sensitive ways of being. Both want calm and clarity. But when they coexist, it can feel like you're trying to speed up and slow down at the same time. That tension alone can be exhausting. The prevalence of co-occurring conditions in individuals with ADHD is also quite high. Studies show that people with ADHD are often affected by several co-occurring conditions. So if this is you and it feels like too much sometimes, of course it does. Your system is doing its best to process a world that rarely slows down or makes space for minds like yours. But things can change. As more people gain access to real-life experiences, honest stories, and knowledge through communities like this one, and as we all become more educated and compassionate as a collective. So what now? Maybe some of this sounds familiar. Or maybe you've spent years wondering why the world feels like it was designed for a different kind of person. Like everyone else got the instructions and you're just trying to keep up. Maybe it feels like you're an alien learning to speak a language that sometimes doesn't feel meant for you. Your brain works differently, and that's more than okay. Being neurodivergent can bring its challenges, and it's important to acknowledge that. But it's also these differences that make you so valuable. Your unique way of thinking and seeing the world brings creativity, fresh perspectives, and problem-solving skills that others may not have. And these are just a few of the many ways your neurodivergence makes this world richer. ADHD and autism often overlap in ways people don't always realize. Sometimes it's not about one or the other, it's both. They can share many traits, but each experience is unique. If any of this resonated with you and you're comfortable, we'd love to hear your story. Have you been diagnosed? What was that like for you? If you're thinking about getting a diagnosis, talking to your doctor is a great first step. They can help guide you towards a psychologist for testing and support. And remember, you don't need to rush. Take your time with this process. It's yours to navigate at your pace. The goal isn't to fit into a mold. It's to build a life that aligns with your strengths, your rhythm. It's about understanding your mind and learning how to work with it, not against it. And you don't need a diagnosis to deserve kindness and understanding. You don't need to prove your struggles to be heard or supported. If you found this video helpful, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might need to hear this too. Thanks for being here.
Hi everybody, my name is Tris. I'm one of the animators for Psych2Go since 2020. And one thing about me is that I also have ADHD as well. Thank you so much for all your support for this channel. We're also looking for more animators to join our team. We even have another channel called ADHD to Go, specifically for more info about ADHD. So feel free to check that one out. Thank you for watching. Hope you have a good rest of the day and take care.